Hello, we will be presenting on the famous book Charlotte Web. It's being presented by Julianne Bermudez, Elizabeth Crawford, Stephanie Crawford, and Zadie Delcid. Do you recognize any of these books? I do. When I saw these three books, I immediately recognized Stuart Little and Charlotte Web. This is because these books both went to theater and the movies were spectacular that were recreated from these books. There's also a famous book called The Trumpet of the Swan. Now, if you take a minute to just look at these books and see if there's anything that you can find that they have in common. Okay, if you found that they were all written by the same author, then you've found what they have in common. The author is E.B. White. E.B. White is an American author. He was born on July 11, 1899 in Mount Vernon, New York. He pursued a career in journalism, and he held a position in the New Yorker magazine in 1927. So E.B. White was inspired to write the book Charlotte Web when one day White spotted a spider spinning an egg sac in his barn in Maine. This was his inspiration for Charlotte's Web. He also wrote Stuart Little in 1945, and he revised the elements of style that was originally written by William Strunk Jr. He unfortunately died on October 1st, 1985. He went on to win some awards for his great books. In 1953, he won the Newbery Award, and in 1970, he won the Book Recognition of Merit Award that was rewarded by George C. Stone Center for Children's Book. In 1970, he won the Wilder Award, and that was provided by Laura Ingalls. And he also won a reward for middle grade books, the Audie Award in 2020, which was very recently. So his books, even though they were written in the 1800s, they live with us today, right? These books are still very popular, and they had remakes made of movies that was very interesting. So the genre of the book is it's a children's novel. It's classic children literature, and it's also fiction and fantasy. So the book itself, the link that we were able to find was written in black and white, but they did a pretty good depiction of the imagery of the barn, and the words that were used were so interesting that the book itself was a very good read and not boring, even though it was in black and white. So the plot summary of the book was there is a pig named Wilburn, and this is an illustration of the pig. He lived on a farm, and when he was born, he was very little. He was very tiny compared to all the other pigs. And Fern, who's the little girl who was in a part of the story, her dad wanted to get rid of Wilburn because he was very small and it wasn't very efficient and financially wise to keep him. So Fern decided to save him and take care of him. And eventually she had to give him away to her uncle who had a barn because they were not able to take care of him. So when Wilburn went into this barn, he met a bunch of other animals and he became best friends with a spider named Charlotte. That's simply because the other animals were not very kind and they didn't want to be his friend. However, the plot twist came when the owner of the farm intended to use Wilbur to create smoked ham for Christmas. So all the other animals knew that they usually eat pigs on Christmas. So eventually a little rat in the story, he decided to tell Wilburn the truth, and Wilburn was very worried about being killed and being smoked for Christmas. So Charlotte, his best friend, the spider, made a promise that she would save him, and eventually all the other animals also decided to help save Wilburn. So in the book itself, Charlotte and other characters had some really witty, fun lines. So we put two here that we would like to share with you. In the beginning, she says, salutations are greetings. It's my fancy way of saying hello. And she also said, if I can fool a bug, I can surely fool a man. people are not as smart as bugs. So the book was full of a lot of wordplay and some very funny and witty lines. So that's what made the book interesting, even though there were not a lot of colored pictures. So the theme of the book itself was friendship, innocence, sacrifice, responsibility, and care. So there was a remake made of the book, a very popular movie of Charlotte Webb, and in the book itself, this little girl played the character of Fern. She tried to save the little pig Wilburn, and we're going to see who the real characters are. So the character for the little girl was Dakota Fanning. She's now grown up. Julia Roberts played Charlotte, the little spider, well, the spider. Steve played the rat Templeton, and Oprah was also in the movie. She was one of the geese, and then Dominic Scott Kay, he played Wilburn, and he was the little pig that was very kind and very friendly and very lonely at the beginning, but became best friend with Charlotte, and that was played by Julia Roberts. So our response to the text. We found the text to be very humorous and charming. It teaches responsibility, determination, ambition, and teamwork. Charlotte's Web is truly one of the most heartwarming stories we have ever read. It definitely teaches about the value of friendship, love, and connection. It highlights the cycle of life and gives an insight on farming. So in the book, Charlotte started to write a lot of words on her web, and it attracted a lot of attention, and that's what eventually saved Wilbur. However, she reproduced and had babies, and she eventually had to die. So Wilbur lost his friend, but he gained a lot of other spiders that remained after Charlotte. So it does highlight the cycle of life, and she mentioned that as well in the book, that it's the cycle of life, that animals naturally have to die because spiders usually die, most of them, after giving birth. So in the end, this was one of the quotes that happened. Wilburn told Charlotte, "Why did you do all this for me?" he asked. "I don't deserve it. I've never done anything for you." So at the end, Wilburn was so thankful that Charlotte had done all she has done, spinning words in her web to help to save him from being slaughtered. And he felt like he didn't deserve it. And Charlotte responded saying, "You have been my friend," replied Charlotte. That in itself is a tremendous thing. So she really valued friendship because in the beginning everybody was afraid of spiders and they didn't want to talk to her and they thought she looked ugly and disgusting. So she really valued that Wilburn thought she was beautiful, and they just formed this friendship regardless of how she looked. So it also touches a little bit of stigma and discrimination, although these were animals. That was highlighted as well in the book. So our questions for you: if you were Charlotte, what would you write about Wilbur? And as a child, did you have a close friendship with any animal? What qualities made this animal stand out from the others?